island person. I love to be on the beach by the sand and the water. Like,
Speaking of islands, beach, and water, I got the man. I got Maxwell Worship on tonight on Conversations with Commodores, and we're coming to you a little late tonight. He's been adulting. We got some responsibilities we got to knock out, but wait till you hear this man's story. Maxwell, thank you, bud, for being with us tonight on Conversations with Commodores. I'm really looking forward to our conversation tonight.
yeah, no, thank you for having me. Just like how I said earlier, it's a blessing and it's a great opportunity, and I'm very grateful and honored for you to even consider having me on this show. And I'm looking forward to just continuing to immerse myself within community, especially Vandy community. And yeah, no, I'm very honored and grateful and excited and happy to be here. So
Well, we are as well. And guys, I told Maxwell that I've been wanting to have him on the show for about a year and a half because I was at the Hawaii game and this man balled out at the Hawaii game. And if y'all were there or saw it on TV, you saw him flying around. And we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But I'm so curious, how did you get out of South Florida and not end up at the U or with the Gators? Or, I mean, I was thrilled that you made your way all the way up to Nashville. Don't get me wrong. But how did you get out of that neighborhood or get out of that part of the state and not end up in one of those programs?
it's so funny that you asked that question because I get asked that question a lot. So a little bit of background about me. Literally my whole family, my mom, my dad, and my sister, they all went to UF, graduated from UF, um, got undergrad and masters there, damn near, except for my sister. My sister got a master's at Harvard. I'm gonna always brag about my sister, by the way, because like my
Yeah,
sister,
we're going to get to her in a minute because I'm going to stop you. How many of your families out there, guys? This is not for you, Max. This
yeah,
is for everybody else who has their own family slogan, trust in your dopeness. I mean, come on now. We're going to get into that family, that way overachieving family, but that is just so cool.
yeah.
But go back to your getting out and the recruiting and all that.
No, yeah. So I think I got my first offer that I got in high school was literally like the end of my junior year season. It was by Kentucky, and then Vandy came, but like my whole family had graduated from UF, and
Mhm.
so my dream school was UF growing up. Like I watched Tim Tebow, Percy Harvin, Brandon Spikes, Major Right. Like I watched all those players growing up, and I wanted to be I wanted to be a Gator growing up.
Mhm.
And so I told myself if I didn't get that offer, if I didn't have an opportunity to go to UF, I wasn't gonna go anywhere in the state of Florida. I felt like the best way for me to grow out of my comfort zone and to just grow as a human being and as a person,
Mhm.
like in every aspect, was to go out of state and go to a different school. And so I did have Miami. It came down between Vandy, Miami, and North Carolina.
Wow.
And the thing is, Miami was way too close to home. Like Miami was great. Like I loved it when I visited it, but it was just way too close to home. On top of that, when it came to Vandy, I had a really good. There was a really good class that I was getting ready to come with. You mentioned Cam Johnson earlier and Ben Bresnahan. Like we had it was one of the better classes, recruiting classes that Vandy had in years.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I had a really good relationship with the coaching staff at the time, Derek Mason and Mattioli, along with Coach Hankton at the time too. He was awesome, and he was on the offensive side of the ball, but he always was like really connected with my family and whatnot. And they recruited me really, really hard. And at the same time, it's the SEC, and at the same time, like who doesn't want to compete like in the SEC? Who doesn't want to win in the SEC? Like who doesn't want to play in the SEC? Because SEC is the SEC, obviously. You know that, we know that, and obviously the academic side of it too. Just like from a outside of ball standpoint, just academically to be able to challenge yourself like that. I've always me as a person to my core, I've always gone for challenges. That's just how I am. That's how I've been wired. Like there's a story that my parents always tell me. My dad specifically, like when I this is TMI, but when I came out of my mom's belly, like coming out of my mom's belly, the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck, and like I was like I had like and I was wrestling with it, trying to take it off, and like so like that's just kind of it's a testament to like how the type of person, type of human being I am. I've always gone for challenges, and the high school that I went to, I mean, we had really really successful seasons my last 2 years,
Mhm.
but we always fell short of the state championship.
Mhm.
But before I even went to that high school, we weren't known as like a football school. It wasn't until my last 2 years we played against Heritage. That was the only team that were to beat us. And Heritage at that time had Pat Surtain, um,
Mhm.
Tyson Campbell, Anthony Schwartz, a whole bunch of like stars that are in the league right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, the respect that my school gained after those 2 seasons, and then them winning states the year after. Sadly, I mean, I wish I could have been a part of that team, but the fact that they won states, like I've always been a like for some reason how it's been, I've always been a part of building things, and so that's what I wanted to do at Vandy. I wanted to create winning at Vandy and make show respect. I just like being the underdog, and so that's kind of that. All those things kind of go into why I chose to go to Vandy.
Well, I was going to say, going back to your high school days, you and the guys who you played your juniors and senior years, you guys laid that foundation for those teams that ended up reaching the pinnacle right after you guys. So
Exactly.
you should take a little comfort in that, even though you may not have the hardware
Yeah.
that those guys have. All right, let's step back from that, and I want you to brag a little bit about your family because we got a sister who deals, she's in the law, deals with the NBA. We got mom winning these big, you just set the tone. Let's start with your parents. And
Yeah. No.
it's such an impressive family.
Yeah. I mean, both my parents, my mom and my dad, they graduated from University of Florida. My dad, um, he works in sales. He's been really, really successful in sales. He used to do sales for an elevator company, and
Mhm.
he just hustles, like he does his thing. My mom, obviously, she's been a part of this medical sales device company for years, and for several years, she's consistently won awards for it while also working part time for a
Mhm.
nonprofit in Miami, where she was providing home shelters and like resources to less fortunate women in Miami called Girl Power. She was also listed as like one of the top 15 most influential black women in South Florida like twice or 3 times, I forget. She's done a lot, but it's crazy. Now that I get to brag on them a little bit more, they're both in England now. They moved from Florida to England. They're living in England. My mom got a promotion within the sales industry. She's in a management position right now in England.
So
She's moved.
not like Massachusetts and Connecticut. You're
No,
talking about over the
she's in
pond.
the UK. She's in the UK.
Awesome.
and then no, I mean my sister, she graduated from Florida, went to Harvard Law School, was has been a lawyer for the NBA. Now she's part time. I'm not part time. Now she's completely left the firm, and now she's working as a life coach full time remote, and she's doing her thing. She's able to travel remotely. She just got married. The marriage was in Mexico. She's traveling the world with my brother in law, and I'm with them right now. Actually, they're both working right now, obviously. But no, yeah, my
You,
family is.
you know the obvious question here is, can she hook you up with some tickets?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, all the time.
I'm gonna meet you in Boston next week. We got a
Oh
thing.
yeah, Celtics are doing their thing. Yeah.
That's right. They
Okay.
took care of
Okay. Okay.
very quickly. But gosh, what an overachieve. They did now in all seriousness, did that was there internal pressure on you to succeed or what was it like? Even now you see how great everybody achieves, but what is it, a family competition or you just kind of make your own path or
They
what's it
don't.
like?
I wouldn't say that they make it competition at all. It's never felt that way at all, and I've never felt like pressured to do anything or be anything.
Mhm.
Um, they like it's always just been we've all just been about love and just loving one another and just caring for one another. Obviously, like the way how I was raised, I've always been raised like from a school standpoint, academic standpoint. It's like I've been raised to like because my parents, my mom's also Caribbean, like I'm Jamaican, so it's like they don't play about grades. Like I'm getting good grades, and I feel like from that work ethic from then on for everything else, when it comes to like all my passions, all I know is to work hard. Like it's not even it's not even about like competition or like being pushed. It's like it's almost like they all like motivate me to make something of myself because they've all become something. They've all done something or are doing something. It's like okay, I want to add on to this greatness. I want to be able to like just add
Mhm.
on to it. So
Oh,
it's
I
like
just
there's never been any pressure or anything. Like right now, it's like obviously like real life is hitting. There's a lot of different things and obstacles that I'm currently against or just working over. But it's like I trust in God, and I also know who my family is, so I know what I'm made of because of my family and because of who God is. So it's, at the end of the day, like I know that I'm gonna be all right with all the things that I'm pursuing and doing right now. Like I know things are gonna I'm gonna overcome and things are gonna happen for me. So It's like I don't trip over it because I know who I am at to my core, from God and from also like who my family is. So
It can't be stated enough of the importance of family support,
yeah,
whether you're an athlete or an actor or whatever you do in life, having that family support is so vitally important. And I just love what you're sharing about your family unit and how you guys support each other. And for those who don't know, you and I could have the next 45 minutes of a conversation and never talk once about Vanderbilt football.
that's true.
This man is a renaissance man. Not only did he grow up playing all kind of sports, and we're going to get into lacrosse because I want to know all about that.
Lacrosse made me a better football player.
Well, I no kidding. It is. My daughter played in college, and I was not exposed to it as a kid. It didn't have it in South Alabama, but just watching the guys and girls play in high school and college during her years, I love that sport. And
Yeah,
I can only imagine how lacrosse and maybe basketball with the footwork that you have
mm-hmm.
helped in every bit of what you did in football. But we're going to come back to lacrosse. We're going to come back to football. This man also acts. This man also models. And there's probably a whole list of things that I don't know yet. But here's my question. How do you figure out what you're going to do each day? How do you figure out which passion it has your attention? And I think it's fabulous. Don't get me wrong. Oh, and he's still playing professional football. We're going to come to that too. The Hamilton Tiger Cats this past December. But how do you figure out what's the priority for you now and going forward?
It's tough. Like when it comes to football and acting, I've been asked this question a lot. Like, oh, so like if you had to choose, which one are you gonna choose? Or are you gonna choose one? And it's difficult because I have a passion for both. I have like I can't just like put one or the other. Realistically speaking, though, I know that at the end of the day, like there's a small window in which you could play the sport of football. Like your body's gonna eventually give up on you. You're not gonna be able to move the way how you want to move. You're not gonna be able to, just like at the end of the day, like we're humans. Our bodies, we get older, we move so like so, I mean, there's a small window in which you could play football. You can only play football for as long as you want, as long as you can. And then acting, I mean, there's people that are in their 60s and 70s, still on the big screen, or still like whether it's doing background work or just being in commercials. And there's a lot of money in acting. People don't know that, like especially just being in commercials, like commercials that premiere like annually or just all the time. Like it's just so it's like I mean acting like it's an art. And I've always had a love for the arts and a passion for the arts. You just said like we're gonna get into that, but yeah, I've always had a love and passion for the arts, and it's something that I've never gotten tired of. Same way with football, like I've never gotten tired of football either. It's just like um because of how my life has been from middle school to high school to college, like it's all just been like this. It's more so just been ball school, ball school, ball school.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really had essentially a chance to really tap into myself from a creative standpoint like I have the last several months. And like right now I've only been scratching the surface. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not I'm not saying to say that ball has been holding me back, but it's like because like football is still there, I haven't been able to like completely dive deeper into it like how I'm about to. But that's not a bad thing because, like I said, there's a small window for me to continue to play the sport that I love, and I'm going to continue to chase that and continue to play that and continue to grow in that because there's some things that I want to prove to myself for myself. But when it comes to like acting and like for me when it comes to like choosing, like it's a one day at a time type thing. Like when I know that something's about to happen, like athletically or for the sport, like I'm my body's prepared. Like I'm prepared. Like I stay ready. I'm staying in shape. I'm continuing to work on my craft. I'm watching film, but like with the acting thing, it's like that's something that's going to be there forever, and that's something that I could always continue to tap into, day in and day out, make money for. So I mean, I forget what your question was, but
It,
hopefully I answered it in a way that you understood
you
what I was
did so quite beautifully, and we really have no agenda. We're just chopping it up here. But let's go back to Coach Mason and you being recruited and coming in with a very talented, very athletic group of guys. And before you got to campus, did you know what position you'd be competing for? Did you have an idea of what the depth chart looked like? Did they tell you ahead of time you'd be redshirted, or if you were going to be competing for some playing time that first fall? Well, take us a little bit into that process.
Well, I mean, I remember my official visit. Like my official visit, I missed the big official visit where all the commits are together. So
Mm-hmm.
like my official visit was like the week after. And I was with Miles Jones at the time, but he had decommitted. He went to Nebraska, but he was one also a part of the reason why I ended up committing to Vandy too, because I thought I was gonna be playing with him, but he left. Whatever. So, anyways, going like in the meeting rooms when we were watching film with Coach Marioli was talking about well, I mean, we were watching film with the safeties. Obviously, he's a safeties coach. I played safety, and I knew that I was going to play safety at Vandy. I just didn't know if I was going to play free or strong. But he had talked about how while we were watching film, a lot of the players that we were watching film on had left or moved on, and so
Mm-hmm.
all these spots were up for grabs. And I kind of already knew some of the other players that were already there, so I knew that I would have an opportunity to play or to get a starting spot or to play. So like I also knew like what I was capable of, and who I was, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, no, I mean like Coach Marioli, he had told me when I was in high school, he was like, "Oh, do you like to play free or strong?" And I told him I was like, "I like strong. Like I like playing strong. Like I like to do everything on the field. I don't want to just sit all the way in the back and just like come down. Like I want to be able to do everything. I want to cover. I want to be in the box. I want to do And so
You like
yeah,
that contact.
yeah, I like contact. And so I came in like listed at strong. Like the depth chart was the depth chart. But when I first stepped foot on campus and we were in the athletic facility, and I was talking to Mattioli for like the first time that I was actually a student and enrolled at the school. I told him I was like, Coach, I'm trying to play. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I ended up playing a lot for my freshman year. Um, Kind of manifested that for myself. I feel like I spoke it into existence when I told him that. But like, it was in my mind that I was going to play as a true freshman, and I knew in reality like that was a possibility, and so I just tried to make it happen as much as possible. Looking back at it, I feel like I didn't take enough advantage of it. Like I wasn't as focused as I possibly could have been. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't say that from like a mental aspect of like, oh, I'm not like locked in. It was more so on like certain just things outside of the game, like certain habits or just certain things like not getting enough sleep, like on the weekends after games, like going out and stuff. Like, it's just stupid stuff that you do as a freshman. Because I really feel like looking back at it,
Mm-hmm.
I could have started like one or two or three games, but I didn't because of that. But regardless, I did play as a true freshman, and I yeah. So
But it's, you know what it is? It's that maturation
yeah,
process.
yeah,
We all go through it at some point during our college years. Some get it earlier, some later, some not at all. But I want to ask you about the transition of coming out of South Florida and the humidity, the temperature. You move up to Nashville, you're no longer the big fish in the little pond at home. Everybody can play, everybody can compete. You're on your own for the first time. You got to learn your priorities, your schedule, and just making sure you're doing the right things at the right time. And part of which you just touched upon, sometimes that's a tough transition, and guys wash themselves out, particularly at a school like ours. It's not like a lot of state schools where you're coddled and you kind of get pushed along and you're helped. You got it's sink or swim first semester.
yeah.
And so my question really, or the comment is, do you remember that first semester, or maybe sometime during that first year when you had a real wake up moment, either on the football field or academically? It's like, now's the time I really gotta focus on this, or I really gotta buckle down, because this is my wake up moment.
Yeah, I mean, going into it, like a lot of alumni and players that were currently on the team had already told me like it's different at Vandy than it is from other schools. Like you're not just playing football, like you're playing school too.
Yeah.
And you have to do school and you have to attend classes and you have to get good grades or else you're not gonna play. And it's different at other schools because other schools, you get help, like and not just like just tutor help, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I kind of knew that, and I always like the thing is I had my priorities straight for the most part. Like I was raised right, so I know how to. I mean, not even to say that being raised right is a difference maker, but like I knew what my priorities were, and I knew how to prioritize my time. But I mean, I was always kind of intelligent. I didn't necessarily have the best study habits. I knew how to study, and I studied well. That's how I was able to. That's how I'm able to like learn playbooks really fast and whatnot. But there was just certain different nuances in studying when it came to school that I didn't necessarily understand or
Mhm.
had the discipline or take the time to really do. And so like that summer school, I had a 4.0. Like I did my thing. And then that first semester, I did decent. I didn't do too bad. But then it was like that second semester, it was like, whoa, like my grades were down. Not down to where it was like I was in trouble, but it was just like it was different for me because I've always had good grades all throughout middle school, high school, like never had to worry about grades. And I didn't have to worry about grades now and then, but it was then it was kind of a reflection of where my head was, like where my mind was at or where I was, like in terms of maturity, because I like I said, like I had my priorities straight and I was doing all the right things, but not necessarily like it was the details and it was certain habits like staying up super late at night, um, just like like not sacrificing the time to like do school, not sacrificing time to do like class and stuff. Instead of like I'm like going out like when I had the opportunity to, because like yeah, I could have gone without it. Like it's always gonna be there, but you don't see it like how you see it now when you're younger. So it's
No,
like
when you're younger, you don't want to miss out.
yeah, you don't. But
Yeah.
but then like looking back at it, it's like yeah, no, looking back at it, it's like yeah, like because I was like I said, I wasn't necessarily like someone who got in trouble. I wasn't doing anything bad. It's just like I could have gone without some certain things.
Yeah,
I
you
know
didn't
there's
have to
more.
stay out till 2 a.m. with your buddies. You could have gone
Exactly,
to bed at 11 and,
exactly,
well,
exactly.
that's all part of that maturation process. And guys, I've got Maxwell Worship. He played with us through 2022, number 21 on the field. And you're kind of a unicorn in that how many other guys play 5 seasons now, 5 full seasons with the university they originally signed with?
Yeah,
Now you have guys who play for 4 different schools.
or five sometimes.
Yeah,
It's
it is
crazy.
crazy. But did it ever? No, that's a bad way to introduce this. When you played in such a unique time period in life in the world, you played through the pandemic. You played with the intro of NIL and transfer portal and the what they call the wild wild west. You just missed the ruling that just or the new change where now the university can pay them. I know directly,
Man,
but you're either too young or you're too old. You got to pick your poisons. But here's my question for you. Let's go to the pandemic year, the 2020, and by now we've got Coach Mason is out. You've got Coach Lee coming in,
yeah,
and that would have been an easy time for a lot of guys to jump ship. That
yeah,
would have been easy, and I know many did. I know that, but that comes with any transition of coaching staffs.
yeah.
But what was going on inside Magoogan for you and your buddies who stayed to be able to weather that out? Brand new coach, the pandemic year, and then the years that followed for you.
Are you
It
talking
couldn't
about
have been
just?
easy.
Are you just talking about the pandemic, or are you talking about pandemic through to my last 2 years?
Wherever you want to go with this, because it's such a unique time that I don't know how you guys weathered the storm, but go ahead and share a little bit of your
First and
experience.
foremost, the pandemic was crazy. Like, nah, I'm not talking about the pandemic in general. I'm talking about the pandemic and how it affected Vanderbilt
Mhm.
because it was a lot of adversity, a lot of just different things that happened. There was some stuff that happened off the field, like within the school, that was really like that was a large obstacle for us as a team. And I feel like that was like the first that was like the first thing. that was gonna lead to like just how crazy the whole rest of the season went. Um, when I think of the pandemic, for me personally, I think the reason why I stayed and played was just because, like, man, that first seat, like I just kind of I was kind of realizing my potential and knowing that like my freshman year I could have started, but I didn't, but I still played, and then my sophomore year I played through a whole bunch of injuries and like like I just wanted to make up for that sophomore year. And so I really just had a lot to prove. Like I just wanted to play, like I wanted to play. Um, I wanted to start to make a name for myself personally, but also like, like if we're like, I've just never been the type of person to really just like, quite frankly, say opt out, even though it might have been a smart decision for some, because to each his own, like everyone has their reasons for why they do certain things, why they transfer, why they opt out. But like just the way how I grew up and how I was raised, just like, nah, like if we're gonna play, like we're gonna play. And that's how a lot of the players on my team were. Like a lot of the players that did stay, that's kind of what the mindset was as well. Um, yeah, that season was crazy though. Like we lost literally every game. We had Sarah as a kicker and
Yeah.
but Mason got fired after it all. So like it was like that was one of those seasons like after the season I was relieved. Like I was like, dang, like I need a break. Like I'm
Oh,
sorry,
that.
but that's how I felt. Like I just needed, but at the same time it was like, okay, all this happened, but I'm still standing, I'm still here. And I feel like that was rock bottom. And at that point, like the way how my mindset is and how others' mindset were is like once you hit rock bottom, like the only way is up. And so me personally, I had conversations with Miss Candace, in the office, like when she was trying to select who the head coach was and all the things that they were getting ready to do for Vanderbilt in terms of like the funding and the Vander United and stuff. And so I found I found comfort and confidence in that, and that was gonna help us a lot. And so yeah, we got Coach Lee, and then Coach Lee, like the first thing that he did, like he called me on the phone. And he was like, anything, whatever you felt or thought about Vanderbilt in the past, I need you to erase that from your mind. Like this is gonna be a new team. This is gonna be a new everything. Like let it go, because what we're building on now is gonna be new and improved and better. That's kind of what I thought in my head when he said that. And obviously I knew what I was going to be a part of, like going into it. Like there was a I had some teammates that well, there was a teammate specifically that had left because he didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. And I mean a lot of players left because of that. They didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. Me, like I told you, the way how I am and the way how the high school that I came from, like I want to be the underdog because I like want to prove people like wrong, and I know I know what people are capable of. I truly believe in people, like I believe in, and so at the end of the day, I was like, nah, like we gonna shock people and we're gonna turn up, like we're gonna do what we do, and so obviously like we didn't have the season that we wanted. And I mean, some people like predicted that because it was like the first season under Coach Lee, and everyone's adjusting to the defense, everyone's adjusting to the offense. We got new players on both sides of the ball and whatnot. Um, but like I knew what I was signing up for. I knew what was going to happen, and I also knew that I had another year to do this. Not to say that it took a toll on me because it did take a toll on me that year.
Oh, sure.
Like going into that season, I had sprained my PCL, so like I was wearing a brace that whole season, like in 2021, and I had did something to my thumb too, where I was wearing a cast like the last 3 weeks, even though I was still doing my thing, but like it was just like I wasn't 100% at all playing that whole season. But it didn't go out, it didn't pan out the way how one might have expected, or how some might have expected, and so that took a toll on me too. And after that season, I was actually kind of thinking about leaving for my last year, just because it's my career. I want to set myself up to be able to land somewhere, um, in the pros, somewhere like in a stable position to where like I'm able to like really make way for myself. And so I started thinking about possibly leaving and whatnot. And then there's this thing that Coach Lee was doing, these like type of workouts where he would have 3 or 4 players, specifically like just work out with him for a day. And so I've been known to like get through the workout, like push, like thrive in the workouts, but in this workout particularly I survived it. Like I didn't do well at all. And so like it was like a I don't know how to explain it, but basically, like in this workout, if you did good in it, then you got some type of award. You got acknowledged in the meeting room. If you didn't, then like you just didn't get no type of acknowledge. Like you didn't get acknowledged. And so I didn't do good. And so literally later that day, or I think it was the next morning, Coach Lee called me in his office because he knew something was up. And he's like, "What's going on with you?" Like I know you've gone through a lot because at that time, you know, Coach Minaher had also left. Like
Mhm.
Coach Benner, who was our D coordinator at the time, who was my defensive backs coach, who I had built a really really good relationship with. I really really liked him as a coach. He's one of my favorite coaches. Super smart, also just a good dude. And so he left, and then that a lot of the coaching staff on the defensive side left, and so like I was just like, dang, because the year before COVID, like Coach Mason got fired, and everyone had left too, and you know all these players had left, and so I was dealing with a lot of turmoil. Now I didn't know whether I wanted to stay or if I wanted to just really like push through this. And you know I had a couple conversations with Coach Lee, and I decided like I'm gonna just continue to push through this. Like, and then I think spring ball happened, and it was very very promising seeing what we had on both sides of the ball, especially with Mike Wright at quarterback.
Mhm.
Um, and then Will like really coming into his own as a receiver, like offensively, Ray being completely healthy, thank God, because that man was a beast. And then even defensively, like we had dogs on defense, like we had really really good players on defense, and I was very confident in my leadership and how what I could bring to the defense, along with all the other leaders that we had with Elijah and the corners and everyone. And so and Anthony, of course, like we had people, we had pieces. So it's like let's go. Like this could be like last year, whatever. Like we only won like what 2 games. This year we could go to a bowl. Like we go into a bowl game. Like we're winning. Like we have players.
Well,
And
let
so
me let me let me pause you for 2 seconds. You hit on something that I think is I don't want to understate it, but I want you to go back to that conversation that with Coach Lee calling you in, because that seems like it was a very pivotal time in your college career that maybe set you down a different mental path, maybe opened your eyes a little bit, or maybe confirmed some things that you were doubting. Am I misstating some of that, or was it
no, I
a
mean
different kind of conversation?
it was a conversation that he could tell that like I was beaten down. Like I was going through a lot of turmoil. Like I was my mind wasn't necessarily on ball like that because of all the stuff that had happened. It wasn't necessarily that like it was it just my mind wasn't focused. Like I was thinking about a lot of different things because this was like literally the week after I think Coach Minna had left us. And so
Where were you academically at that point? Had you graduated?
academically, I was getting ready to graduate.
Mhm.
I was on my way to graduating. My grades had gotten better after my junior year. Like my junior year, I kind of turned it all around. But
Mhm.
like my grades were fine. Um, I was just like, should I be here? Like, should I be at Vanderbilt right now? Like, is what am I gaining from this?
Well,
What's
you had also built up a pretty fine on-field resume at that point. So it
yeah
would have been one natural and two probably expected if you did transfer.
yeah
Because at this point the transfer rules were now in place.
yeah
And and it just sounds like, at least the way I'm gathering, that conversation was quite pivotal to get you to stay for that 22 season. And I'm so happy that you did, um, from a fan and a former player standpoint, because, and I'm skipping ahead just a little bit, but we went to the Hawaii game
yeah
and you guys turned it on. I mean,
yeah.
that was a fantastic game.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. No, it's funny that because I mean during the conversation that I had with Coach at the time, also we had Deshaun Jerkins and Brendan Harris had left as well. And
Mhm.
those are like two
Mhm.
dudes that I had came in with.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And like
Yeah.
they had always been around me. So it was just like, dang, like should I leave too? Like is this like but yeah, fast forward like I was like, nah, we going okay, like we're riding to the wheels fall off. Once I'm committed to something, like I'm committed to something, I have to see it through. That's how I am. I'm loyal to a fault when it comes to everything in life. And so once once I was able to like really like get over that hump of the loss and to really embrace like this is what I have right now and this is what we're rolling with, and then really just like bonding with all my teammates and stuff.
Mhm.
when it came to like fall camp, training camp, like it was like all full go. And I already kind of knew like the intention that I was trying to set for this season. Like I was like, not everybody from last season that we played or everyone that we're playing against, like they got to pay for what happened last season. And that was the mindset going into Hawaii. And so when we played like even training for Hawaii, like even during training camp, it was like, oh yeah, nah, whoever see us first game of the season, like they getting everything. Like they getting all that in a bag of chips. And like um
And
is
it showed because the games following Hawaii, the body language, the energy level of the team on the sidelines and flying around, particularly on defense. There's
yeah,
a fantastic picture from the Kentucky game, one of the big wins that November.
yeah,
There are 8 of you guys making one stop on a running back.
yeah. I
And
know exactly what picture you're talking about.
that's a fantastic picture.
I know exactly what picture you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, at that time, our coach was very adamant about hyena ball. You know,
Mhm.
having every man fly to the ball.
Yeah.
Like every man, like if we could get all the players on the defense on the ball on
Mhm.
one play, on every play, then like we're doing something right. And so, yeah, it was a mentality that we had on defense where it's like we don't want you to catch it. We're not gonna let you catch it, but if you do, like you're gonna pay for it. Like whoever's got the ball in their hand is gonna pay, and that was really like the mentality that we had. That's what we had during Hawaii, and yeah, you see it all throughout that whole season.
You did in those the back-to-back SEC wins, the Kentucky and the Florida games. That was as fine a football defensively that I think we'd seen in a few years
Yeah,
because you guys were just ball hawking everywhere.
yeah, no, we,
And I
yeah,
want to get your thoughts about in general. What was it about playing safety or being on the defense that brought you the most joy as an athlete? I don't know if joy is the right word, the most fun, most memorable. I don't mean a particular play or game, but why you already mentioned a little bit about wanting to hit, but what was it about playing safety that really is something that you enjoy doing?
I love putting my guys in position to make plays. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love communicating to everyone, being honest. Like the communication set piece, because
Mm-hmm.
at safety, linebacker too. Like a lot of times linebackers are like quarterbacks of the defense too, but more so safeties nowadays. But you're able to really see the whole field, and you're able to really just like, come in and clean up mistakes or just like come in and do your job. But at the end of the day, like I really enjoyed like the communication set piece and being able to put people in positions to make the plays that they needed to make the play, or just to really just like be like I feel like from the safety standpoint, you're able to see everything, connect with everyone. Um, and so that's what I loved about it. Like I just being able to communicate and talk to everyone from my corner to the other safety to the linebacker to the will to Anthony at the time to like even the end at times, like or the D like just being able to like really communicate with everyone and put everyone in positions to win their one on one. Like
And
I really love like that aspect of it. Like almost just yeah, just being the quarterback of the defense.
let's get in the weeds for just a second about that very issue and communication on the defensive side. On the offensive side, it's easy. It's all hand signals. It's everybody looking at the sideline, etc. But when you're communicating from free safety or strong safety, depending on where you lined up, you're not a lot of times if you're in the swamp or you're kneeling or wherever, it's loud as hell and you can't hear.
Yeah.
How much of that is hand signals? How much of that is running over and pushing them where they need to be, lining up and things like that?
It's a large it's a mix of all of it. It's a mix
Mm-hmm.
of all of it. For the most part, I don't know how like, but for the most part, like a lot of times, like even like all the away games, like no matter like in the swamp or whatever, like everyone's able to hear one another. I don't know how, but like I don't know. It's just it's about making eye contact with your teammates. It's about
Mm-hmm.
making eye contact, them being able to see you.
Mm-hmm.
The along with you communicating and saying whatever you're saying, you're also doing the hand signals so that everyone's on the same page.
Well, I was going to say, plus you guys played a lot together.
Yeah,
Elijah, after all those guys, all you guys, you kind of knew your body language. You kind of knew where this guy's weakness is, or where he needed to, or where his strength was. And that comes with being a fifth year player too. In this, and granted, your system changed, of
Yeah,
course, different DCs, but there's something that where you no longer having to think through the process.
yeah.
It's just that natural athletic talent kind of takes over. And that's my question for you. Where in the process, what year, when did you feel you no longer had to think about where I needed to be and you just did? Because
I
that's when you change from being a up and coming prospect to what I think to be a real player, a real star.
I would say my junior year, like um my sophomore year, I faced like a lot of just different adversity between
Mhm.
just like having to overcome coaching and also dealing with injury. I honestly should have redshirted that year. There was no point in me playing through the injuries that I played through.
Well,
Like
sure, sure.
it's bad. But my junior year I kind of was just like, man, I know this. And I mean, granted we had a new playbook than the ones that we had the previous years, but it's
Mhm.
like I have extremely high football IQ, and like
Mhm.
I'm able to pick up on things really quick. So like once I had learned everything that spring, and then when it came to like the fall, it was like I kind of made the decision mentally, like I know this. I've always been a confident, loud communicator. I think that's why I was able to get on the field as a true freshman my freshman year. But it was just like I know it. I'm gonna just go out and play ball at this point. And also, I mean, at that same time, like I'm older too, and
Well, that comes in, that's the maturity.
yeah, being older is
Yeah.
maturity standpoint. Yeah,
It's also that confidence as an athlete that you brought from middle school into high school and into college, and then you really developed it over those fourth and fifth years.
yeah.
But you're so right about the changing playbook. I was at Vanderbilt 4 years. I played quarterback with three different offenses, completely different
Wow.
each year. And you talk about taking a while to get to used to a new offense.
Yeah.
Um, let's
Offensive techniques are different.
don't,
Offensive.
don't even start. Let
Yeah.
let's step away from the field and you and I talked a little bit before we came online and I call it the McGugan bubble. You have some athletes, student athletes, that they're and this is not a criticism, this is just an observation. You have one of two different types of experiences. The McGugan bubble are the guys and the women athletes who are most comfortable hanging around the other athletes and they just that's their world, they're good with it, they don't really care about what else the campus has to offer. That's one experience. The
Yeah.
other is the student athlete who gets out of the McGugan bubble, maybe joins one of the Greek organizations, maybe gets a volunteers or makes a bunch of friends who are not athletes. That's a different experience. That's networking in a different way.
Yeah.
What was your Maxwell? What was your experience? Where did you fall when it came to the off the field experiences?
I would say like because we were talking about it earlier, and I was talking about how like I'm still connected to a lot of the players that I played with,
Oh, sure.
whether they're a year older than me or younger or my age. I'm still connected with them. I still talk to. There's some players on the team now that I still am connected with. Um, but I also like long to like be a part of like the larger community that you're introducing me to, which is like the alumni because I'm a part of that now. But in terms of how I was in college at the time,
Mhm.
I would say it was a mix of both. I think my freshman year, I had a whole like friend group, like a friend group from my freshman class, outside of ball that some of my other teammates were also part of too.
Mhm.
I was friends with a lot of my I have a cousin, Harrison Ray. Harry Ray was who was a part of Vanderbilt baseball. Like that's family.
Player.
So like a lot of him,
Sir.
you know, they got a podcast show. So him and Kiambu
100%.
and John, yeah, and then my homeboy John, who was a walk on the basketball team, but
Mhm.
he played a lot. He's a part of that friend group too. So those are my guys. Those are like my older bros or whatever. And then
Now, when you talk about Harrison Ray, you got to put some respect in that man's name.
no,
He's
yeah,
a champ.
he's one of them ones. Yeah,
That's
he's that
right.
guy. He's that guy. Yeah.
2019.
No, trust. Yeah, yeah. No, no. That's family. So it's like I had him as a friend. Aaron Naismith was one of my guys too at the time. what's it called, Darius Garland and Simi. Like they were, Darius was my roommate in summer. Like
Stop. Those were short lived. They were short lived. They didn't stay long enough. I
yeah, they
wish
did it.
them
They
well
did.
in the pros, but I
They did.
needed them on campus more than a year. But go
They
ahead.
did. But I mean, I had friends outside of ball like my freshman, sophomore,
Yeah.
junior. It was tough because of COVID, and I
Hmm.
think after COVID year, I was so focused on ball and
Hmm.
really just trying to get something, just trying to make something happen for the team and for myself. That like, that's when I kind of just like reverted to kind of like staying within the team, within my teammates and whatnot. But like my first 2 years, I was definitely like in between both, like having friends and
Sure.
having friends outside of ball and friends in ball. Like, and I still have some of those same friends to this day. It's
Well,
just like
that's
I still wish I'd networked a little bit more.
well, but that's the uniqueness of you having to deal with the COVID year as well, because that
Yeah,
changed a lot of experiences for a lot of college kids, regardless if you played ball or not. My child came, my younger daughter came home for 5 months, and I felt so bad for her. She no more wanted to be with her father in this house that she wanted to be with her friends, like you guys all do. You know, you
yeah,
need that experience. But
yeah.
here's a fun question for you. Most guys are in group text with former players, with their teammates, with their buddies. And those group texts typically have a name to it. Now, this is a PG-13 show. My group, we're called the pterodactyls because by the time it was time for us to make some playing time, we were old and has been as athletes. We were dinosaurs, and the younger guys came up and were much better athletes and took our spots, so to
Hey.
speak. So we're the pterodactyls.
Yeah.
Our group text. Does your group? What's your group text called with your guys?
Oh my gosh, my group text from my 2018 class is titled "Make Vandy Win Again."
There you go. I'm telling you, every guy had every recruiting class or group of teammates who were close and still communicate text. They've all got a title that has
Yeah.
something to do with something like that.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's one group that's called Anchor Down. There's another one that was, I don't know, they're all kind of funny names,
Yeah.
but they're all related to Vanderbilt somehow.
Yeah.
So that's good. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to get away from Vanderbilt football for a few minutes. Let's talk about prepping for the pros because we all saw that back in December you signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yes, sir.
What was that experience like after Vanderbilt and getting ready for the pros on wherever you were going to land?
Man, crazy experience. Um, it's very anxious. I was very anxious throughout the whole process. Given my last season, like them last couple of games, I didn't start, even though I played a lot and I still like was on the stat sheet and had like second most leading tackles like within some of the games. Like I didn't start, I didn't, and so like that kind of messed up my draft stock. But I still had the opportunity to go to camp with teams. Going into the process, like training went really really well, and I was fortunate enough to go to the Tropical Bowl and the College Gridiron Showcase. We were two like all-star games where like top prospects and athletes go to, or like the athletes or prospects that don't get invited to the Hula or the Senior Bowl or the Shrine, like they go to those. And so I was able to really make a name for myself in those bowls, and I was able to get an interview with the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and a couple other teams. Like they started to have interest in me. But the thing is, during my whole draft process, a lot of teams didn't see me as they weren't interested in me playing safety. They were actually interested in me playing linebacker. And so like going to camp, I went to camp with the Kansas City Chiefs. I got invited to mini camp with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Titans. With the Chiefs, they had already had like they already had all the DBs that they needed, but they also had like four signed undrafted free agents. And so like at that camp, I kind of realized like I was just like an extra body. But obviously, I'm gonna compete. I'm gonna show you like what you're missing out on. And so I kind of use that as an opportunity to get better as a player and become the best player that I could be, but also like use it as a preparation for Tennessee, which I actually did have an opportunity to compete and really like
Mhm.
get somewhere, get on the roster. And so with the Tennessee Titans, Like it was rookie minicamp, but by day two, I was actually like the coaches had me going competing with the ones, and so I actually like did really well. I was on like the teach tape during meetings for special teams, and I was getting asked the most questions and getting asked to like answer the most questions when it came in the meeting room. Learned the playbook faster than pretty much all the DBs within that camp. But at the end of the day, like what people don't realize is how much of a cutthroat business the league is, and at the end of the day, sometimes it comes down to numbers. So if you don't land as an undrafted free agent, or if you do land as an undrafted free agent, or you just don't get drafted, sometimes it's better to land as an undrafted free agent than to get drafted because then you get to put yourself in the best situation.
I was going to say you
Or
might
like,
have more opportunities to
yeah,
show your abilities to
exactly.
other people.
Exactly. And so my particular situation, Coach Vrabel really, really loved me. He liked what he saw at the camp. He wanted to he wanted to call me in for a second workout just so the front office could see me once more.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, it wasn't up to the coaches in that situation on who gets signed. It was more so the front office. Front
Sure.
office weren't really liking me that much, even though I did really, really well. On top of that, they didn't want me at safety. They wanted me at linebacker. And even before the draft, like the Chargers and the Dolphins had called me asking me how much I weigh, which is a linebacker question. Um, and so
And were you still at safety weight, or had you put on some weight?
I put on some weight. Like during the draft, during my pro day, I was weighing like 207. After that, I was weighing like 213, 215 pounds.
Mhm.
And so during that whole time, uh like after the Tropical Bowl, that's when I also gained interest from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the Canadian Football League team. And so they actually wanted to draft me coming out of the like before the NFL draft. But
Mhm.
because like I had the opportunities with mini camps, I wasn't really looking to go and play in Canada or play in Hamilton. So they had been wanting me for a while. And they actually even tried to sign me. They wanted me to play DB. They wanted me to play DB, and they actually had wanted to sign me going into the they had wanted to sign me like during the season, like last season, like in the fall. But they're like but it was like closer to like their playoffs because their season ends in November, and so like there was no point in me like getting signed that late and only being there for a week and just being on the practice squad before I could even get moved up.
Now, had you worked out on a Canadian field before any of this? Did
No,
you appreciate the dimensions of the field compared
it's
to
insane.
NFL?
It's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's literally 7-on-7. Like the whole league, it's 7-on-7. Like
Mhm.
65 yards long, wide, 110 yards long with a 20 with the end zones being 20 yards long. Like
Could you imagine trying to play linebacker in the CFL as opposed to playing one of the safety spots, being heavier?
so no, but what's crazy is so my situation right now.
Mhm.
So I signed with Hamilton to play linebacker. Like the plan like I've switched to linebacker. I weigh 218 to 220 pounds now. And that's perfect weight for the CFL.
Mhm.
So I signed to play linebacker and initially I thought I was gonna play Sam, but they actually had me listed. They actually put me at will, which is fine. Like it's a fun position. Like linebacker's fun. Like I'm mad that I didn't play it sooner. But obviously, things happen how they're supposed to.
And
Everything happens for a
how are
reason.
your lungs these days? You got your wind?
Honestly, I've prided myself on being one of the most conditioned players, no matter what team I'm a part of, no matter what group of men I'm around of. So it hasn't been that bad actually. My lungs have been really good. But sad to say, I actually got released recently, like this past week
Oh,
by the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
oh,
I mean, going into it, obviously it's a new position that I've been playing, but also they had
sure.
also like later on after I had gotten signed, they signed four other like vet LBs that had came from the NFL. On top of that, there was just a whole bunch of other like things going on.
Mhm.
Um, my position group was really really stacked. We had a lot of players, and obviously the Canadian the American ratio. You can only
Right,
have like
right.
20 some players
Mhm.
on the American side of the ball, and like
Yeah, it can't be too heavy ones. Yeah.
yeah, on the active roster, and so there was a lot of injuries on the roster in general, and it's because they wanted to suspend certain players and keep players on the roster that were injured. They had to cut off at the linebacker.
A number. You got caught up in the numbers. It sounds like. But
Yeah,
here's a question from a kid who grew up in South Florida and played his college ball in the deep South.
yeah.
Going up to Canada, the humidity or lack of, the snow, the temperature being completely different than what you're used to. How long would that take to get used to?
Um.
And the first time you wear sleeves out on the field, they make fun of you. I guarantee it.
Oh, they did. I mean, I will say Nashville in a way did kind of prepare me for that because it does get cold in Nashville in November and December.
Little bit, not
But it
Canada.
isn't. It's nowhere near like Canada. Like Canada, like when we was up there, it was like the 60s and 40s, and like it was cold. It was cold. I
Did you
was
have to buy your first winter coat?
yeah, yeah. Winter coat was packed and ready to go. Like it was cold out there for sure. It
I
was.
seen you with the big hood on, with the
Yep.
fleece and all that. Oh
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. Looking like I'm in Alaska. Yep, that's me.
yeah. And your friends from back at home are like, "Who are you? What is
Oh,
this?"
literally, literally. Yeah, yeah.
So unfortunately, you get released recently. Is there a chance, or are you going to still continue to make yourself available for other opportunities? Or
Yeah.
now is it time to pivot to whatever's next for you?
I think I'm gonna end up back on a roster sooner than later this summer, especially in Canada.
Mhm.
Um, like, cause just seeing what I was like, cause I mean, there was certain like going up to Canada and playing and kind of showed myself that I still have a lot to give the game.
Mhm.
Like a lot to give the game. Like I did really well.
Are you 24? How old are
I am
you?
24. I am 24. So
I
no,
have t-shirts. I have t-shirts that are older than you, so keep talking.
no, yes. So yeah, no, no, I just and also like it was fun to like kind of get my feet wet in learning the new position and
Mhm.
um I think I can really dominate at the position. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my options open with that. I think I'll definitely land on a team sooner than later back in Canada if it's not back on Hamilton again. Um, but in terms of pivoting, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily pivoting, but I am definitely putting more effort and energy than I did before into what I've been doing for the last several months, which is scripted stuff, acting stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And is it movies? Is it TV? What kind of where are you right now with what you've been able to do?
So because I live in South Florida, there's been like because I've been in South Florida. South Florida is um a right to work state. It's a lot of non-union work comes here.
Mhm.
Um, it's more so known for commercials and music videos and things of that sort. So like there are large productions that get placed down here, but they don't get there's not a lot of like movies or television shows that are filmed down here right now. So like I've been blessed with the ability to continue to get booked consistently through commercials and
Mhm.
music videos and even like a web series TV show called Soul Snack and Judge Porter that I've been on. And so I've been able to build my portfolio and build up my resume in acting so that I'm able to like, really venture out and travel to other states and connect with larger agencies or casting directors, whatever you may have it to lead into TV and film. I've had a couple.
So you
I recently had an audition, a Tyler Perry audition, but I didn't get it. I was like the second. I was like the runner behind of getting the role. Also, there was also a movie that's actually being filmed down here right now that I had gotten an audition request for, but because I was going to be in Canada, I didn't take it because I didn't think I would be around. But because like I just got back home, I was able to reconnect to that casting directory, and they're able to bring me back on today on set.
oh nice.
It's just like a background, and I don't care. I mean, background work is great. It's to build. At the end of the day, it's all to build up the journey and where you're going. I've done a lot of background work, so now I focus more so on like principal stuff because I've been able to book consistently principal work. But
Well,
I've never
we've
done
got a
anything.
question. Folks want to know: is that your real hair, or is that hair from the set?
Is that is my real hair?
I'm kidding. So you're building up your IMDb page, is
Yeah,
what's going on.
yeah. That's what I'm doing. but yeah, no, definitely looking to go into TV and movies. Definitely.
Well, good deal. We got two more topics. I'm gonna cut you free in just a few minutes. How does a safety who played Division I football in the best conference take what he's learned on and off the field and apply it to the arts, to acting, and what you're now doing this week? How do you take any of those lessons, any of that craft? Does any of it apply to what you're doing right now?
Yes. The same way that you might like learn a playbook and learn certain techniques and movements is the same way that you would learn a script and analyze a script and study the characters within that script. The same way that you look at characters and certain movements is the same way how you would look at certain movements when you're reading an offense and you want to learn how to come not combat but to react to that. You know, like at the end of the day, like the game of football, obviously, um like the game of football in itself, like I'm not gonna say it's unpredictable because it is at the end of the day. Like once you really learn the game, you can kind of get a knack, and you learn your opponent. You could get a knack and an understanding or knowing of what's to come or what's about to happen, and you're able to put yourself in position to make plays. I'm gonna use that metaphor as a way in acting, like you're able to like learn the script, learn your character, and also learn what's happening in front of you so that you're able to react and create something. At the end of the day, I see it all as art. Like however you how you do something, how you do anything is how you do everything. I feel like however you move, however you carry yourself on the field, however you communicate, however you like establish yourself is in the same way. It's a way how you establish yourself like on set in front of a camera. Like it's a presentation. Um, yeah, I mean to carry it over, it's crazy because my me and my uncle had this conversation. This is outside of like that question that you just asked.
Mhm.
My uncle talked about how like you could really compare football to acting or to just anything in the sense that like in acting, like you might get a role that you don't necessarily like or don't want. Just like in football, you might be on someone on the depth chart, or you might play a position that you don't want to play or you don't like. But at the end of the day, like if you really make something happen at that position or wherever you're at, like you'll get the attention that you need, and you'll make something happen. Like you'll make something of yourself. So it's like you kind of have to carry that same mindset over to acting, and also like yeah. That's my TED talk for the day.
I want to throw this to you as an acting challenge coming from someone who has 0 years experience, 0 minutes experience in the acting world. The next time you're told to be in a particular place to stand for whatever scene, give a 7 yard cushion and backpedal when they say go and
Sounds
see
good.
what happens. Yeah, just see what happens,
Sounds good.
and make sure it's recorded because we want to show it here in the Facebook
Sounds
group.
good.
All right, we got one more topic, and then I'm going to get you out of here. And we appreciate your time, Maxwell Worship, number 21, guys, with us. He played through the 22 season and just all around Renaissance man we got with us. I'm so glad he's with us tonight.
Thank you.
Um, Looking back on your years at Vanderbilt was such a roller coaster of time for anybody who comes into college and plays and has that experience. But just given your unique time through the pandemic, with the portal, with all of the stuff, if you've got guys who are ninth and 10th and 11th grade recruits looking at Vanderbilt and they see the construction that's going on with the facilities and they see the transfers who've come in, they're calling us the New Mexico State of the East with all those guys. We're the Vanderbilt Aggies, if you will. 8 players and 4 coaches, I think now.
Yeah, I
But
saw that.
what would you tell those guys? What do you look at? Because it's one thing to just look at all the newness. That doesn't win games.
Yeah.
But what do you tell these recruits? What do they need to really be focused on if Vanderbilt's going to be their home?
I'm not gonna lie, from a recruiting standpoint, pitch the new rule to where colleges can literally can literally pay their athletes, like pay the teams. Do you understand how to put it like in blatant terms, rich Vanderbilt is, like how much money is about to be placed in the athletics and in the players' hands. Like from that standpoint alone, like go to Vandy. But no, I mean on top of that, I mean if you go to Vandy and like if you go to Vandy and I think Vandy's gonna do good this year. I think Vandy's gonna actually do pretty good this year. Um, if you go to Vandy and you make some things happen, you know how like do you know how much of an impact that will like how that will affect like college football and even like yourself and the trajectory of like where you're gonna like I feel like it's a win-win like situation no matter what. Like if you go to Vanderbilt, I feel like just the history is there in terms of being in the SEC and us knowing us because I mean I talked to a lot of people that like play at UF and they're like, man, anytime we played y'all, like it was tough, like it was hard, like it was annoying
Yeah,
playing.
because y'all beat them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I don't know. I just feel like if going to Vandy, like obviously you got the city, Nashville in itself. You start winning at Vandy, like you really make it. Like if you really make a name for yourself, the whole city is gonna be behind you. Like the whole city. Um, you got Coach Lee, who's gonna be in his fourth year, fourth year head coaching now,
Fourth year.
and
Yeah.
he's completely taken over the defense, which is amazing because that man is a defensive mastermind.
Yeah.
Um, it's a lot of new players that are hungry, looking to like really like it. I feel like you're gonna put yourself in a really good situation to where like you could kind of reestablish and reset and like reinforce like a, a winning culture.
What I'm hearing from you, tell me if this kind of sums it up a little bit. It's the right place at the right time.
Yes, it's the right place at the right
And
time.
this is coming from a fellow who just played for us the last 5 years, but coming from a much older alum. Here's the other thing that I hope that the young guys and women who play their respective sports consider. It's not just about those 4, 5, 6 years you're on campus and part of a sport. It's the legacy beyond that of having Vanderbilt attached to you and you attached to Vanderbilt. It's the network. It's
Yeah,
the name. It's so much more than saying that you just graduated from pick a state school or
yeah.
another school, because the Vanderbilt name has a lot of pull around not just the South but around the world.
Anywhere, because literally people like people like see me. I'll tell them I graduated from Vanderbilt, but they'll be like, "What?" Like I've gotten job offers just off of the fact that I've graduated from Vanderbilt. Not even having a master. I have a master's, but like they don't even know that I have a master's. But the fact that I graduated or went to Vandy, like I have people like, okay, well if you're interested in this, that, and the third, like I can get you set up. Like
Mm. I didn't mean to end on what I'm about to ask you, but I don't want to get out of here without us addressing this. The last 3 or 4 years, the pioneers, the first 10 years of African American football players have been having reunions and coming back to campus each February.
mm,
And I know that on a couple of occasions, the current teams or whoever's been around those weekends have met with the pioneers.
yeah.
During your years, did you ever have occasions to break bread or hang out with any of the pioneers, either at that weekend or other times that those men have been on campus?
Yeah, I specifically remember the last 2 years. They came over, and Coach Lee made it a of importance that like we had to spend time with them. And yeah, no, it was cool. I don't know. I don't specifically remember exactly some of the alumni that I got to spend time with. I remember a dude that played running back, um, another dude that played receiver that were actually like really good players. But yeah, no, I was able to break bread and spend time with them, and I think that's amazing. That's an awesome thing in itself. So
Well, I was going to say, and those men are now in their mid to late 60s into their 70s, so they're older men,
yeah,
and they played a completely different game than I played or that you are playing now.
right,
But it's the shared experience. We all went through Magoogan. We all
right,
have played on that bad turf at one point or another,
right,
and we've all gone to the SEC stadiums. but their experiences, and I hope this is what was expressed. I hope they shared some of those experiences with you guys, the younger guys, that what they did, you've all heard, you walk on the shoulders of giants. Well, those are the giants.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether you're white or black or yellow, whatever your whatever your background is, these men are so important to our program. So I'm so glad, Maxwell, to hear that you guys got to spend time with those fellas, those
You
different
know,
youth.
yeah, no, I'm glad I got to spend time with them too. Honestly,
Yeah, their stories are quite remarkable. And I will say this, I applaud you for what you've been through, for what you've done for our school, for our football program. And I know you've got some great things coming your way. So thank you for spending some time with us tonight. I
thank you for
appreciate it.
having me again. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Like, I'm really grateful, extremely grateful.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. Hang on just a second. Let me sign off and get this over. Guys, keep coming back. We have got a Coach Fred Pancoast era panel discussion coming up for guys in the 70s. We've got another walk-ons roundtable with a whole different group of guys. And I've got Commodores lined up, gosh, all the way into August. So football season is going to be here before you know it. But as always, take her down.
Thank you now.